So we've created a bespoke tool which is hugely flexible called the Brand Imprint. And essentially what we do is go and measure brands across 4 key areas. That's having a look at your impression of the brand. What are sort of people seeing of it? Is it relevant? Is it differentiated? What type of interaction are they having with the brand? Is it actually being responsive to them? And then finally, in the area of resilience, is your brand actually prepared for the future? Are you being responsible? Whether that be green matters or socially invested, whatever that may be. And have you in fact got a future-proof brand? So we ask people questions like, do you think that this company will actually be around in 5 years' time? Really, really interesting things that I don't think marketing departments ever really give too much thought to. But certainly if you were BlackBerry 5 years ago and someone had asked you that question, we could probably have seen what was coming down the line. And what we found with this particular tool is it gives a really holistic view of your business. And one of the comments that we got from a client is to go, I've never actually thought about my organization in this way, because what we've gone and done is linked every single activity that they undertake as an organization to the way that the customer perceives how that is delivered to them. So again, as I said earlier, it's not about a pretty logo or a great advertising campaign. It's about those interactions. And if we can make sure that more and more of those interactions are positive over time, that brand is going to grow and that business is going to grow from the bottom line. We're also able to then draw on our global research. So we've got a site set up in which we input all the data, and over time we're collecting from our 24 offices around the world and starting to build up some fairly interesting insights around categories, what the norms are in categories and who's outperforming in a category. Which I think starts to lend a lot more credence to the tool. And again, as a global agency, it's really important that we don't just say that. We've actually got to be able to deliver value around it. And I think this is one of the areas in which we're doing that. So one of the organizations that we ran this with was the Post Office, one of the very maligned organizations in our country. And again, it spat out a very interesting perception for us. And really, I think the 2 key findings where this brand was very, very powerful was, first of all, in relevance. It has a service that people actually need. Yes, there's a need to communicate, and sure, nobody really writes letters anymore, but there's a need to communicate and connect, both into structures of government as well as with each other. And people felt that the reach in particular and the access, which is one of the areas that we measure, is it easy to access this? Particularly in rural areas, there's a post office in every single town. And it's got a huge amount of possibility and potential for what this organization could do for the country. Government keeps complaining that they're struggling to make contact with people, but by using an organization such as the post office, we found that if they were consumers actually said that they trusted the post office, they knew where it was, and they'd like to go and get more services from it. It wasn't just about mail, but it was a communication area that could go in there. And they even started coming up with innovative ideas of what should be offered there. And, you know, social grants, distribution, all that type of thing. There's an awful lot that this organization could do. So from a future perspective, it wasn't looking good from the way that they've positioned themselves. But by listening to consumers here and going, we like this, it's got great access, we trust it, what else can you do with it? We've suddenly gotten them to look at their organization very differently from being one that delivers mail and doesn't do that particularly well. So that's 2 key areas where they performed well. They pretty much fell flat everywhere else because they'd made a promise that, you know, we deliver everything on time, and actually the delivery of that completely falls flat. So there's work for them to do internally on actually getting those structures right. But these are the types of things that will come out of this type of a study. And as I say, this was not a hugely extensive one. It was a fairly high level one with some of their key executives, as well as some interviews in rural and urban areas with consumers. But it gave them a very clear picture of what their organization could be, and some very quick wins that they could start undertaking to improve in areas where people felt that they were letting them down from a promise perspective.